Hi, this is Viktoriia Miracle and Purposeful Woman Podcast. My goal for this podcast is to bring you the best information from the brightest woman in the world. Let's go. Today, we have a very special guest, and it's a fierce strategist, Joy Meyers. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Viktoriia.
And I will wanted just to give a little bit brief about who you are because it's just a blend of science and life and emotions. I love it. She's a molecular geneticist turned fear strategist, TEDx speaker, author, and mentor. Robin Joy specializes in the science-based strategies and techniques for self-awareness, mindset, leadership, balance, and boundaries, and the positive power of fear to empower women with tools to change your mindset and limiting beliefs that can put into action immediately. Hi, Robin. That's a wonderful blend of just a science-based, right, education with the fear and life coaching. What is your story? How that heck happened? I've never heard somebody saying they're a fear strategist.
When I look back now, I think lived my life in fear of myself. I was the youngest of three. I had two older brothers. And so I was the protected little girl. And that's great, but I didn't use my voice. I was shy, introverted, great people pleaser. And so I went through life having decisions made for me, and I never questioned any of it. So went to college, which was really chosen by my parents. I was going to go to medical school and I didn't get in, so I went to grad school. And so I got my degree in molecular genetics. And during that time, I isolated a gene. I found a gene in fruit flies that causes a mutation in wing formation, impeding flight. But I never gave that any credit. I'll go back to that because to me, I could hide in the lab and I didn't have to speak to anyone and no one really had to see me. And I just went through life. But during that time in graduate school, my mother died of cancer. She was 53 and I was 21. And so I just became more lonely and isolated and frankly depressed. But I didn't really know what to do. I met the guy who became my boyfriend, then husband, who said he lived in Washington, D.C. I went to school in Ohio. And if I was serious with him that I should just get my master's degree, not get my PhD, I moved to D.C. with him, got married, raised a family, and then I was everyone's everything, but I couldn't define who I was. And so ironically, raising a family, having my kids, I have three kids, my youngest is a daughter. It didn't hit me until I turned 53 and she turned 21, which I think is so strange. Talk about like divine intervention or something. But it really made me realize, who am I? I never took time to figure me out. And it really set me on a journey of self-awareness.
Yeah, do you believe when is a good time to start go on this journey of self-awareness and how can we do that?
I think the earlier the better. I think, and that's why I love the millennials. People you hear all kinds of things in the corporate world, they're so difficult to work with. And I think you guys, millennials, have such a positive attitude. So hats off to you. I think, honestly, the earlier the better. I think if you can start, frankly, in your teens, start advocating for yourself, certainly in your 20s. I don't think there's no time is too early. And really, it's by taking time to reflect on you and really think about, get into good patterns and routines, journal, think, what do you want for your life? And it doesn't have to be what you think society wants you to do. It doesn't have to be what you think your parents want you to do. It's really your life and you can create what you want. So any age, but you just have to learn who you are and learn to trust your decision.
Yeah, I like that question. What do you want? I was at the one training and we were asking each other for nonstop for, I don't know, 10 minutes or 30, and then it really sometimes like I was just freeze. I was like, just I get to like really think about it because I already answer everything society told me to, right? Because that's what you always do. And then I was like, oh, that's what I really want. And it just keeps coming up. Yeah, keep asking yourself on what do you want? We want a lot of stuff. A lot of us like have a lot of ambitious. We're like, I want to take a word. I want to change the world. But this fear is stopping us. You say, is it really real? What is that fear?
The fear is totally real.
Okay.
Totally real. The fear, so the science of fear. So yeah, so everyone take a deep breath because it's totally real. So our brains are brilliant, and fear is our mechanism to wake up and pay attention. Sometimes it's pay attention because something bad is happening and it's your fight or flight response. You should flight, get away. But I think that's the other thing in our world. We've put fear in this negative paradigm of stop and be paralyzed. And that's the conversation and what I want to change in the world. Because fear actually ignites you to pay attention and go forward. So the science of it, basically for the reaction of fear to happen in your brain, there's 5 areas of the brain that have to work together. One area is the amygdala, and the amygdala actually stores imprints from pre-verbal stages throughout your entire life until you die. And pretty much before age 7, all those imprints are from your parents or caregivers, everything that they're probably afraid of. And I always like to use the reference of, think of it like a tattoo. So every single incident is like another tattoo, but you can remove it. Not the easiest, but you can remove it. So you have to recognize what that is and get used to changing the patterns of behaviors to remove it.
Mm-hmm. So how do we remove it?
So in our brain, there's something called neuroplasticity, which is a hot topic. But neuroplasticity is our ability to rewire our patterns and behaviors. So all the bad patterns become bad behaviors, but you can create good patterns. And actually, when you see all these like 21-day challenges, that's a minimal time. So the more you repeat an activity or a thought process or like a mantra or something like that, the more you repeat, the more it's called the neuronal pattern does it. And the more it does it, the more it gets used to doing it. So it takes a minimum of 21 days for it actually to become a new behavior. Now, the thing is, I like to tell people, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because in those time frames of 21 days, remember, your brain is brilliant. And your brain's, wait a second, it wasn't so bad. Why are you trying to change this? It's so much easier. It takes work to change it. So why are you working so hard? Don't do it. So you have to fight your immediate response and tell your brain to quiet down, and tell your negative talk and your self-doubt and all of that to just quiet down, that you're doing something different.
So just use it as a navigation, what I'm hearing. If you feel a fear, think of it as a, like navigation, and it actually tells you, yes, let's go there. That's what I feel. That's what I want to like always say for my fear. I was like, okay, so that's probably where I get to go.
Yeah, and it's good because I think what's good about it, and even in this day and age right now with what we're all going through in the world, it's making us wake up. It's making us be really present on how we live, how we wash our hands, how we prepare. It's totally woken the world up.
Yeah, now the pandemic had to happen for people start to wash their hands. Now we create a new habit. Now we're gonna go and wash our hands even this is over, which is
exactly
really good for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I would love to talk, like, how did you transition, right? You work with the people who is transitioning, and like, what would you suggest to people who is thinking of a transition to a new career? Because now the world is shifting, obviously, and we get to learn and adapt to new normals, to new like behavioral normals as well, like being home and working from home. And what would you suggest for people who's been already thinking of that idea? I want to do something else, or like I want to go here, but I'm like, I'm still here because it's like, right, my security, but like now it's a really good time. Like, what would you?
I think actually it's almost a gift for people right now in the sense, and unfortunately there's people that are very sick and that have lost lives and stuff like that. But on the positive side, it's a gift because have you ever had this opportunity to be forced to be at home? So you're hopefully working a whole lot more efficiently. And so take the time. You're not going anywhere. So really start thinking, what is that thing that you've had that desire to do? And it's a great time to read about it. It's a great time to take an online course. It's a great time to plan because honestly, we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Maybe finish a course. Maybe just finish the courses that you already have to close that loop and don't feel really overwhelmed of new courses.
Yeah, just start planning and really write down what is it that you want? What are you trying to create? And don't worry about somebody else might be doing it or why should I start it? Because I know someone's tried this and they seem successful. You are your own person and you're going to attract the people that are attracted to you. So I always say that. Don't feel that imposter syndrome thing.
How to start a business? Like, how did you transition in your life from being in laboratory and being your own boss?
So I went from the lab to teaching. I taught actually for a while. So I taught biology, no surprise, and sciences. And then I went into corporate trainings, to private trainings, to a nonprofit organization. And then when I really transitioned into the coaching, I did do some homeschool tutoring until I was able to get my business to the point where financially it was ready to let the other go. Mm-hmm. So it's finding that balance. Very often people are weary and afraid of that because they have an income coming in and they're not ready. So devote the time. It really comes down to how you keep your calendar. And when I work with people, it's so important to keep a very good calendar. And that means scheduling even your time with you. Schedule your morning time with you. Schedule your breaks. Schedule, I'm done with work at 4 o'clock. So from 4 to 6, I'm going to concentrate on this new idea.
Absolutely. I'm just such an advocate. I teach people on productivity, schedule everything. Like even when you think that you are going to gym, you got to think of like, how long does it take you to get to the car, to take car from a parking out? You're driving there, you're actually parking again. And people forget to schedule this time. And then they got like back-to-back appointments when they start to schedule everything. And then they're just overwhelmed again.
Yeah, and that's really important. That's a great point because if you just put in like a 45-minute workout, you didn't schedule the other 30 minutes, the 15 to get there and the 15 to get back and just get totally productive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So to what I'm hearing, to transition, you get to create your schedule and you got to decide on what you want and transition smoothly. That's what you are advocating for. Not
definitely
just with my job and I'm going to do this.
It really, it depends on where you're at, right? Some people can afford to do that. Others can't. So it doesn't mean if you can't, it does not mean don't start the new thing. That's not a reason to hold back.
Yeah, don't hold to the fear. Just go forward anyway. Just do it.
Exactly.
Well, and what is the most common mistake that you see people make on starting entrepreneurship or being entrepreneurs?
The common mistakes? I would say really the calendar is a big mistake because people don't necessarily do it and they don't get into a routine either. Because as an entrepreneur, you're working on your own, right? So if I'm not scheduled for a call at 8 or 9, I have more flexibility, but that's not a good habit. So you really want to create really good, strong habits right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. So how do you create a good habit? What is the science behind it? How do we create the habits?
So the habits, it all comes down to that neuroplasticity. It comes down to really being very strong and getting uncomfortable. For instance, setting your morning routine. Like I am a huge advocate for 5 minutes in the morning. What you do with those 5 minutes, it doesn't really matter to me. But I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. How do you want to feel today? And what do I need from today? And that's not a laundry list of things. It's what do you need from that day? And so in order to do that, it's making sure when that clock goes off, you're going to get out of bed. Are you going to exercise? I roll out of bed and do a yoga routine just to get the blood flowing. A quick
What else
jump
is
rope.
in your routine? What else do you do for your day?
So that's how I start. Personally, for me, that's how I start. I like a yoga and a jump rope thing because it's quick. And coffee. That's my routine.
Mm-hmm.
But journaling, if you like to journal, morning pages, people like to meditate, podcasts, whatever that is to just center yourself. Definitely do not do emails first thing when you get up. That's not a good way. It really sucks a lot of time. You'll be surprised how quickly the clock goes by. So that's something that's really important. And then make sure that the night before you're looking at your calendar ahead. And it really, once you set these schedules up and you start the repeat and you keep doing it, it becomes a new pattern. So your morning routine becomes a new pattern. At night, I say, close everything out 30 minutes before you want to go to bed. Put the phone away, hopefully away from your desk, get a real alarm clock. Write down 3 good things that happened that you're grateful for. And it could be repetitive. It could be, I got up today. That maybe is where you're at, but it just closes down the day. It just shuts it down and then you can go to sleep. Because when you set up the night, then the morning's more successful. Mindset is huge for productivity.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I totally agree. I work specifically with the productivity calendar, and the mindset is just the technology that we have, and it's huge. And we're just launching it here in America. It's just all over Russia and Europe. And I see this huge because when you get up and you think, okay, what do I have to do? Those words are so important. Like, how do you relate? And you mentioned that, like, how do I want to feel? Who do I want to be today? If you come into the interview, like, how do I show up? Who do I want to be to make a great interview? And what is the other feelings that could stop us? Like, you as a biologist and the whole, like, the biology of our body. And what's the other tricks and trips and like to do to get yourself to this high state of being?
Some of it includes in the whole self-awareness journey to quiet, I call them the 4 H's of self-doubt, feeling helpless, feeling quiet, that hypercritical talk or the self-talk, hiding, where you feel like I'm an imposter and I'm not that organized and you're uncomfortable because you don't really like that task. And then that was 3 of them, I think. Hiding.
Helpless.
Yeah.
Hypercritical, hiding, helpless, hopeless.
Hypercritical.
Maybe hopeless?
And hopeless. No, it wasn't hopeless. I'm trying to think, actually. The negative, the self-talk, hiding. I'm sorry. There goes my brain.
If it comes back to you, just share with us if it comes back to you.
Yeah, I'll let you know what the 4th one is. But the negative talk and that.
Could you talk more about like negative talk? Because I feel like we are all guilty with this.
A really good way to start quieting that is, if you think about it, start talking to yourself like you're your best friend, which you really should, because you wouldn't say most of what you're telling yourself to your best friend. Right? You would certainly bite your tongue and never say some of the things. You have to stop that with yourself. And the more you realize that you do it, you realize those triggers. And it comes back sometimes, it goes way back to the imprints as a child. It goes back to someone saying you're not good enough, or you're not doing this right, or I'm disappointed in you. Certain buzzwords trigger something that you weren't even thinking about that might have happened when you were 5 years old. So it's really a matter of just understanding what that journey is and understanding that that's an imprint that is not, serving you. So you got to let it go. You really do. So I try and work through all that I call it the fear method, my fear method, which is like forgiveness. The F is huge, and it's forgiveness for you. Acknowledge that something has happened, but you have the power to say, I'm going to move past it.
Mm.
Therefore, then you can emerge and accept this new you and then resolve how you want life to go forth.
So forgiveness and then
E is
emerge,
A is
accept,
and R is
resolve, accept, resolve. That's a really cool acronym. And so tell people, could you share like with the audience where they can find your work and where they can look for you and how they can
sure.
get more of you?
Yeah. Thanks. Easiest way probably is my website, which is just robinjoymeyers.com. And I think all my links go from there. So if you want to see my TED Talk, that's on there, the link for it, and type of coaching that I do, and how to get in touch with me. I offer anyone and everyone, if you feel like there's a limiting belief or something's just stressing you out, just get on my calendar and we'll have a 40-minute conversation, no strings attached. Just let's see if we can reset you in the right direction.
Yes, thank you for Robin provide us a 40-minute discovery call as a gift for the session, and also checklist. What is the checklist about it?
The checklist is my TEDx checklist actually is 10 things that you should have prepared that I found out after doing it, that when I sat down and thought about it, things that you don't really think about. And you can use it really for taking any stage. So if you're speaking, whether it's a big keynote or you're just going in front of your team at your company, it's a great preparation list.
Right. So you also do keynote, right, preparation and for TEDx talks.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just speak a little bit about it? I felt like I missed that part and didn't even ask a question about the TEDx talks. She have amazing TEDx talk. Go guys and watch it. It's on loneliness and isolation, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't made up yesterday. It was made up a really long time ago, and it's just so on time, and it's amazing.
Yeah, when I got accepted to do the TEDx, it was TEDx Chelsea Park in New York. It was started as the theme of fear and then winding down into loneliness and isolation. And so it is the science of loneliness and isolation. And it's amazing. I say that hiding plus fear plus loneliness equals isolation, that those three elements equal isolation. And hiding about not speaking your truth, and then the understanding that there is a science to fear, and that loneliness, there's times loneliness is lonely, and I talk about like social media, we're so connected, but yet we're more lonely than ever before because we're always down in our media. Now, this time in the world today, we could use it for good. We could FaceTime, we could connect, because obviously we can't leave our homes. So connect with your loved ones, connect with your coworkers, so you don't feel lonely and that you're not isolated. So now's a good time to use your social media.
Yeah, and or Robin also mentioned that at 20s, that's the biggest statistic of people who are feeling more isolated, right? Could you say a couple words about
Yes. So loneliness is of epidemic proportions
that?
right now, more than, and it's real. It's just like thirst or hunger or pain. And it increases, it spikes in late 20s, mid 50s, and late 80s. And as we were talking earlier, do I have the proper job? Do I have a significant other? Am I doing things right? And mid 50s, life's transitioning. Kids are older. You're probably taking care of your parents. And 80s, you're probably losing friends or family if you're living that long. People are dying around you. So they're significant times of your life, but just be comfortable. And that's where self-awareness comes in. Just be comfortable getting to know you, like really be able to truly love yourself, take care of yourself, especially as the virus and all of that, like really there's time to sleep, get to bed a little earlier, work a little more efficiently so you can work on whatever that passion project is that you've been dying to start. You have time.
Yeah, thank you. If I only heard that before, that will save my depression and my loneliness before. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, and I really just so thrilled, so honored to have you here, and now especially in these times, and really hear the science behind it and having action steps, right, to how to balance our lives from you, Robin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching it. And I'm excited to see you in other series. Stay tuned and we'll have more amazing guests. Love this episode? Would you like more of this? So send us text to stand in our purposeful woman community and connect with like-minded women to +1 401 399 4105. And I'll see you there.